Right, we're going to start off with a hugely important night for the three British teams involved in the Europa League, especially their managers. Manchester United have just finished in Lyon, as you can see, alongside Stephen Kelly, the former Manchester United assistant manager. Mike Phelan has been watching this one. So 2-2 it finished in the end. But it was during our commercial break that second Lyon goal went in. And again, Andre Onana at fault. Tell us about that goal.
It was something that should have been avoided, really. I mean, they've put themselves in a perfect position, 2-1 away with, seconds to go, really. And they allow this attempt to go in. I mean, it's a very good finish, but the actual way it comes about is disappointing. And I think Manchester United were very disappointed with that. Onana, the first goal, yes, made an error, a big error. And again, the ball that's just fluffed out of his hands. And it's just happened to have popped straight into the Lyon striker, and he's finished it very well. But it should never really come to that.
Yeah. Obviously, huge frustration for Ruben Amorim, but the wider question, I guess, how do you solve a problem like Onana? What do you do now with this player who, admittedly, he's been at fault for the 2 goals? How do you lift him? Do you keep faith with him? Do you go with a replacement? Well,
that's the biggest decision as a manager that you've got to make. You know, I know one great manager that made one huge decision in one cup final one year for Manchester United when I was there. But I think that's a decision now that you have to look at. That position is the next keeper at Manchester United capable of taking on that role right to the end of the season? But you can't keep going through these phases where those mistakes are costing you. Because you are in the game. Man United are in the game. They're in the tie. They probably would go through at 2-1. Possibly will still go through at 2-2, I think, with that performance. But you can't keep covering up those mistakes by waiting for it to develop into a good performance all the time.
I mean, as it happens, Manchester United is still incredibly unbeaten in European competition this season, the only team across the 3 competitions that are. And I look at, now the next 7 days for them. Newcastle away on Super Sunday, and then, of course, the return leg against Lyon at home. How does Ruben Amorim approach these next 7 days?
Well, I think he will take each game as it comes. I know that's a cliche, but I think that's the only thing he can do. He'll probably have had one eye on the Newcastle game as well, but he'll pick the best team that he can, the team that can beat Newcastle, and then he'll move on to this game, this return game. I think they are in a strong position for the second leg. Okay. At home with the atmosphere, and Manchester United should have won this game today.
They should have, but it is all level heading to Old Trafford next Thursday. Thank you, Mike. And it is indeed all level for Tottenham as they head to their second leg of their quarter-final with Eintracht Frankfurt at 1 apiece. It finished that scoreline at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They really should have taken a lead to Germany for the second leg, though, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should have.
What was your read of it?
Yeah, I was very encouraged by Tottenham in the second half. The style of football they played, the chances they created. They didn't look, Tottenham of late have kind of looked devoid of confidence. They haven't had a spring in their step. But that second half, though, they really took it to them in the forward areas, created some really great chances. Bergval's one off the bar, unbelievable strike from distance. But the chances they actually put together, Son's, Madison's, and right at the end, Van de Ven's, which again, they pulls off another wonderful save from the goalkeeper. So I think on the back of what they've done with the ability to change the team as well throughout the game, bring in fresh legs, and they weren't really weakening their side, which is something Tottenham haven't had for the whole season, basically. So I'd say they go into that second leg more confident they would have done. I think that game will hopefully bring confidence into the group, feeling that they go there and they can get a result.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? For United, at least they come home for the second leg. Spurs, they go to Eintracht Frankfurt. We know that they've done well in this competition in the past. They can generate that incredible atmosphere at their stadium. Again, what do you expect Ange Postecoglou to do in terms of approach, or is he just a one-plan man?
I think the fact that he has the players at his disposal now, I think he's going to go as strong as he can. And I think the team he picked today is pretty much as strong as he can go. Aside from Kulusevski, who I think would be a wonderful player to have, who is not going to be fit. Everybody else kind of picks themselves at the moment. Whether you bring in Tell, I think Odegaard has done well at times, whether he could be an impact over there to come on, but I'd say he starts pretty much the same team. The fact that he's got Romero and Van de Ven to get at the back, that was really positive. Those two marshalled it really well, dealt with the track. I know the goal was excellent early on, but I felt they dealt with it really well. Udogie might miss the game potentially. He went off injured, but I think you're bringing in Jed Spence, who's been arguably one of their best players. So, you know, I think they're going there in hopefully in good spirits. They should feel really confident in the back of that performance second half because, like I said, some of the most creative play they've had throughout the course of the season.
Yeah. OK. Well, we'll find out. Next Thursday, we're in for an even more dramatic night, I'm sure. Mike, Stephen, thank you very much indeed for your company this evening. One more guest to catch up with, and that is Chris Boyd. He's been watching Rangers against Athletic Club. So much stoppage time in this one that Boyd was almost charging overtime for his work tonight. 12 minutes of stoppages, but no extra... Well, I don't know. Was it eventful? I mean, we had obviously that crazy period in the game where we had the goal, the disallowed goal, then we had the penalty, then it was saved. Just take us through the final stages of what happened at Ibrox this evening and your take on the whole 102 minutes that it was tonight.
Yeah, well, David, Rangers ended up playing with 9 men because Sterling went off injured as well and they had no substitutions left to bring on. So for the last 6 minutes of the 12 minutes added on, they ended up playing with 9 men, but defended really well. And actually, you know, the free kick right at the end, where you're thinking maybe just because the way the evenings went that Rangers could you know, find a winner. It was a ball in the box that was well cleared just before Balogun was about to get on it. But I must say, you know, when you think of, you know, having played 90 odd minutes with 10 men, you know, with the 12 minutes added at the end and Robin Proper sent off. It was a red card. You know, Iñaki Williams was going to be through in goal. It was a bad pass to start with. He put Balogun under a little bit of pressure. Then Iñaki Williams, as I said, got the touch. Great first touch to get away from the two of them and Proper just wiped him out. Then, as you said there, you know, the penalty kick, it was a strange one because, first of all, they obviously had to go right through the 3 incidents that led to the ball, the VAR check to start with because Berenguer already had the ball in the back of the net, but it was a long ball over the top. Sterling, they looked for offside. It wasn't offside, the first one. Sterling then put his hand out and it brushed off his hand. Listen, it's not intentional. It was a ball over the top. He's running his hands out. We know the laws of the game now, and you know, it's very difficult to argue with that. Although when you look at it, you know, it is pretty soft. Then they didn't obviously have to check the third one, which would have been offside. The penalty kick was given. Berenguer stepped up and tried to go down the middle. He was probably a little bit too cocky running up to it to start with. And Liam Kelly spreads himself, dives, but sticks a leg up and gets it up and over the bar. And, you know, when you think of the pressure he was under coming into this game, replacing Rangers #1 and Jack Butland, he's came in, it's a clean sheet, he saved a penalty kick. His handling was very clean as well. You know, he deserves a lot of plaudits for his performance tonight. He would be expected to be probably a lot more busier with, you know, Rangers go down to 10 men so early on, but it wasn't to be. Rangers defended well all over the pitch, every single one of them, again, helping their teammates out in a European night. But, you know, so for Rangers, it's a creditable 0-0. It's a creditable 0-0, and they'll go to Bilbao next week, hoping to frustrate them and maybe nick something in the counter-attack.
And I was going to say about next week as well, I mean, given that they've already had a memorable performance away to Fenerbahce in the previous round, Chris, how much can they take from that? The fact they are very much still in this tie, despite all of that drama, and the chances of getting a result away in the Basque Country?
Yeah, I mean, it will be difficult. But you know, Rangers, nobody gave them a chance going to Fenerbahce. They went over there and got a decent performance. Rangers have performed okay in Europe, even when you go to Old Trafford, albeit they lost the game, but they performed well for large spells of that game. You know, they are a counter-attacking team in Europe. We've seen that, the pace they've got. John Souttar will come back in, Diamondi will come back in. Obviously, Robin Proper will be suspended, but you know, Rangers will be a stronger team next week with those two coming back, and they'll just be hoping that, you know, by doing that, it allows maybe Cherki to be a little bit more freer. You know, we've seen Rangers have a couple of counter-attacks tonight, but they had to be more rigid and hard to break down because of the pace that Atletico Club have got. And going long didn't quite suit Rangers tonight because, you know, Atletico Club have got big physical defenders that stood up to Cyril Dessers tonight, but you kind of got the feeling if, you know, they could pick up those second balls. It was Hadji and Cherki tonight, but because the game was so stretched, Dessers was up there on his own a lot of the time, but obviously can keep 11 players on the pitch next week. They can maybe cause Atletico Club some problems, but it'll be a difficult evening. But a creditable result for Rangers considering they played the large majority of this tie with only 10 men.
Yeah, only 2 defeats in 9 away in this competition. So yes, there is definitely plenty of reasons to hope. Thank you very much indeed, Chris.
Cheers. Good night.
It was a night of high tension and late drama across Europe as the UEFA Europa League quarter-final first legs played out and the second legs are now perfectly poised for fireworks next week. At Groupama Stadium, Manchester United were seconds away from stealing a vital away win when Lyon's Rayan Cherki struck a dramatic 95th minute equaliser. The 2-2 draw leaves everything to play for at Old Trafford in the return leg. United had taken the lead through Garnacho and Fernandes, but Cherki's late heroics ensured Lyon head to Manchester with renewed hope. The French midfielder's composure under pressure stunned the visitors and sent the home crowd into raptures. In North London, Tottenham Hotspur were held 1-1 by Eintracht Frankfurt in another tightly contested affair. Hugo Ekitike opened the scoring for the German side with a clinical finish early in the first half. Spurs, however, responded well, and Pedro Porro's second-half thunderbolt gave the hosts a crucial lifeline ahead of the second leg in Germany. Ange Postecoglou's men will need to be sharp if they are to progress against a resilient Frankfurt side. Up in Glasgow, Rangers battled to a hard-earned 0-0 draw against Athletic Bilbao. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and goalkeeper Liam Kelly was the star of the show, saving a crucial penalty in the second half to keep his side in the tie. With everything still even, Rangers now face a tough test away in Spain, but Kelly's heroics give them every reason to believe. With all 3 ties finely balanced, next week's second legs promise to deliver even more drama, goals, and possibly some giant killing moments. The Europa League is wide open.